I know we're only 10% into the season, which is a small sample size, but I thought you've probably heard enough of the coach the last few days and the players. Give them some time to reflect on where we're at and sort of answer any of your questions from maybe a different viewpoint as a manager. Obviously, we're not in a spot where we'd like to be. We haven't been under Craig's tenure. Losing 5 in a row is something new to us and not something that we want to acquire a taste for. We had a meeting with the players today, more of a not a fire and brimstone meeting, just a reality check on. I went through some stats, and the reality we're in the bottom quartile of anything that matters in the NHL right now, and that's the best we are, is in the bottom quartile. We're in the bottom 10% in quite a few areas too. You look goals for, goals against, average, we're in the bottom. You look at our goal differential, we're in the bottom. Our special teams are not special, and so we need to make sure this is ground zero and start building our way up. And what I said to the players, we may or may not win on Thursday. That obviously we're in the winning business, but what we need to see is a competitive level higher than we have now. And what we have to do is find a part of our game that we can build off of when things aren't going good. The NHL is an extremely competitive industry, and if you play teams that are, we'll call it a rebuilding mode or whatever, they're proud athletes, they're proud coaches. They don't buy into what maybe upper management wants as a rebuild because they're proud. And if you give teams like that hope, they're going to take it and they're going to win those games. And what we have to do now is put our stake in the ground that we want to get back and be in that competitive nature. When I look at the league in general right now, the teams that are rebuilding are moving quicker than the top teams are moving down. So you're going to have a league is going to be compressed. And what we have to do is we have to work our way back into the compression part of it. We're not in the compression part of it yet. Meaning we're along, there's 25 teams right now in the NHL, I think this morning, that are 500 or better. That's another 25% stat. We're not one of them. And so we have to find a way to get back into that. If you had to pick a positive out of the first 10% of the season, I have been impressed with our fourth line. I think they come in, they give us energy. What I'm finding is, and what Craig is finding, what the players are finding, is we don't have that. When they put that good shift in, we don't follow it up with another good shift. We follow it up with sloppy play or turnovers or things that allow the other team to grab momentum. So when you have a group of players that change the momentum, it's incumbent upon the next group to come out and keep that momentum, and we don't have that right now. And again, it's 10% of the season, so I don't want to overreact, but we certainly can't underreact too. And one of the things I told the players that if this continues, in my 30 years of watching the NHL, it's going to be okay. Well, then what happens? The coach. Well, I told the players the coach is not going anywhere. Because the coach came from the American Hockey League, where he coached young players and made them better, and he coached veteran players and made them win here. So he can do both. So he's going to be here, and I don't say that as a threat or anything like that, but I believe in the coach. I believe in the system, and this isn't a system issue; it's a competitive issue, and we have to rectify that. And I do believe in the group. That's a very self-serving thing to say because I put the group together, and ultimately it's my responsibility to judge what they do. I talked to the players a little bit today about, we've been a very strong team for the better part of a decade, likely 12 years. And as a manager, what I want to do is reward them every year by trying to push this to a 13th year, then a 14th year, then a 15th year. But when they tell me that the run's over, the run's over. And I said to them, you look at the teams that have had success in the past, that are into a different phase of their organization. Everyone has the term retooling, rebuilding. Whatever a re is, it sucks. And I don't want to be a re anything. I want to continue what we're doing now. And I do believe in the group. Again, very self-serving because I put it together. But we're not in the belief business, we're in the winning business. And we have to start to compete at a higher level. And the competition and the competing is going to show itself. It might not show itself in wins, but it's going to show itself in how we play, and then the wins will follow that. We're not running out of winning runway yet, but 10% gets to 20 pretty quick in this league, and then 20 gets to 30% of the league done, and you can't hope just to turn it on at some point and think that everything will go your way. You could turn it on and get 3 injuries. You could turn it on and something else go wrong, and then it's over. And I really believe in the guys. They've done a lot for my career, and I want to return the favor to keep doing it for their career. But at some point, we have to do it together. And so, in a nutshell, I don't think, a major league, God willing, one day at a time. You guys didn't need to hear that again. You hear that every day. Right now, what we need is results. And I think for Craig to come out here today and talk to you guys, or for you guys to go in and talk to the players, you're going to get what you heard last night, and you're going to get what you heard for the last 5 games. And I thought it might be a little bit easier for you guys to take your frustrations out on someone different today.
Doug, when you try to analyze why this team is not competing, what do you come up with?
That's what we're trying to find out, because it's the way we lose. We lose in we don't lose with pride. You're going, meaning we expose our goaltenders. If you look at our goaltenders the last 3 or 4 games, there has to be at least 2/3 to 3/4 of the goals are backdoor tap-ins. That's not on the goalie. The goalie has to face what he faces. But so we're not competing at our net. We're not competing at their net. We seem extremely easily frustrated, and I think the competition builds off of our body language. When we don't score, we talk to the guys about, we have a group of guys that believe, I can't believe this is happening to me, and a group of guys that believe that they're not part of the problem. When in reality, we're all part of the problem, starting with me, but we all are part of the solution too. And so why we're not competing, I don't know. I thought the guys tell me how close the group is off the ice, and that's reassuring, but it has to be way closer on the ice. They have to want to play for each other. Like Kruger got hit last night, and I give a guy like Boards full credit. He took a penalty, and even though it's a tie game, you're going to kill that penalty off, because it's a penalty given by a guy that cares about his teammates, and we need more of that stuff. So, Jerry, I wish I had your answer. I don't really have exactly why we're not competing. I just know we're not competing to the level that's necessary to be competitive.
Doug, was it mainly just you that talked to the team today, or were there others? Or?
I just had I don't want to say it was just more of a 10% of the season behind us, sort of look at where we're at, sort of the telling the guys that there's a true belief in them, but it's a result-oriented business, and my desire is to push 12 to 13 years and 13 to 14 years being competitive. But I also have to be realistic that if it's only a small portion that want to be competitive, then we'll go a different direction.
Do you sense there's enough buy-in right now? And if there's not, it seems strange, because it's not like Craig is doing anything different, right? I mean, in terms of systems or how he's coaching the team.
Well, I think you're always tweaking your system a little bit, but these aren't system-oriented problems we're having right now. You don't give up 6 and 7 goals and get out chance 3-1 in third periods. Not a game, but for multiple games, So it's not system, it's competitive, and again, I don't want to overreact. We are 10% into the season, but I also don't want to underreact, and I think the guys put a hard day of work in today. Hopefully they're going to go home and reflect on what we talked about. Hopefully they're going to go home and reflect on how they can be part of the solution moving forward. One of the things we talked about in there as a team is that, you know, if you go to a different team and you're a veteran leader if you're a leader and you go to a different team, if the team has success, they don't want you to be a leader, they just want you to fit in. So if you like being a leader, you're best to be the leader here. Because, and I'm not sure if that makes a lot of sense, but when you go to a top competing team, they're looking for a piece that can go in there and help them. They're not looking for someone that can go in there and change their culture. And the leaders want to be leaders. They want to be in the team meetings. They want to discuss when we practice. They want to discuss all the things that go about being a competitive team. And when you leave to a different organization, I've seen it. I've lived it. I've brought guys in like that, and they fall under the hierarchy of the leadership group. And if you get traded to or go to a team, either free agents or via trade, that's on the upcome, you can be a leader, but they're hoping they lead you into playing meaningful games in March and April, or they hope you lead them into playing in a playoff series, you know. And so I believe in our leadership group. I believe that they're best to lead here, and I'm counting on them to do that for us. And I know they can. They're great human beings.
Army, how difficult has it been to watch a guy like O'Reilly get off to a slow start, trying to establish that chemistry with Kyrou? What have you seen from those two specifically?
I would say those two fall into the top 9 or 10 forwards. So yeah, obviously you want those guys to be at the top of their game. They're not at the top of the game right now, but to single out those two would be letting 7 or 8 more guys off the hook. So, you know, I don't want this to come out that I'm talking about 1 or 2 players, because it's not 1 or 2 players. It's the collective group, and if we just use simple math, if I say I like the 4th line and there's 3 lines higher, that's 9 guys that aren't pulling their weight. So, and then our defensive core as a group haven't played to the standards that's necessary of being competitive in front of our net. And a lot of that too is we're not a group of 5 going up the ice, and we're certainly not a group of 5 coming back the ice. So we're when you watch teams come at us now, there's no back pressure, so they can buy time and space and make plays to make backdoor plays. So there's just a whole host of things that we need to clean up, and I think having the ability to have one game and again another 7 days, it does feel strange how little we play, but it does give the coach some time to get some things organized.
Why do you think that is the case? You talked about the group of 5 going forward and coming back, but also the passing. Everything just seems a little bit out of sync.
Well, I think for sure it is out of sync. It doesn't seem to be. I think you have guys pressing too hard to want to play outside. You know, I like our guys. I keep saying that. I do like them, and they're trying to do more than they need to do. All they have to do is do their job, but more importantly, they have to believe in the guy beside them is going to do his job. When you stop believing in the guy beside you to do your job, you end up trying to do part of his, and you don't do all of yours, and you don't do enough of his. And so then you're where you're at. So I think right now what we have to do is just get back into doing our own jobs to the best of our ability and trusting the guy beside us. Right now, what happens when you get into these things is the guy wants to pass the baton off to the next, like, it's my bad, I'm going to give you to you, so no longer it's my issue. So they're passing bad batons off to each other and then pulling self, saying it's not my issue. And that's what I talk about when I say that some of the players are looking, saying, I can't believe this is happening to me, and some of them are saying it's not my issue, when in reality it's all of our issue. And the way we're going to get out of it is together. And that was as much, that was the meeting today, is together we're going to get out of this. And it has to happen, because you don't have to say what happens if it doesn't get out of it.
Army, obviously when you signed Thomas
You're
and
coming, bud.
Kyrie,
No.
Go ahead. Obviously when you signed Thomas and Kyrie, you said there's some risk involved, but you know, at the end of the day, it'll pay off if you got a good player there. Kyrie appears to be pressing, doing something. Is it the expectation of the contract? Is it still growing into a player? What is it?
Well, he looks way more like a 2-9 player right now, and that's what he's making, so we'll leave it there. But no, I think that he's just one of 9. There's other guys that aren't playing to that standard. I'm not concerned. Well, I shouldn't say. We need more from Jordan, but we also need more from a lot of guys. So he's an easy target because of the contract that he just signed. But if I'm going to base the next 9 years off of 8 games, it's going to be a really big roller coaster for me, for him, and for the fans.
I mean, how would you describe your patience right now, just in terms of seeing this thing through, getting this team back on track? Is this truly testing your patience more than you've been tested?
Yeah, I think that I'm fortunate enough now to rely on experiences of the past. I think if I was, instead of year 18 and year 4 or 5, I'd be nervous. But now I have enough to know that I do trust the guys, and I think the patience is going to be rewarded with good play. Coming down here, getting prepared for some of these questions, I can control, my job responsibility is for the coach, the players, the trainers after that. I can't control what people think about me above me, which is the ownership group. So I have to do my job, and my job is to assess our group. And if I believed in these guys in September, I should believe them on 1st of November. But we have to start having results, I guess, Andy. I don't know how to say it any different.
Well, with the salary cap situation, not a whole lot of options for you, is there really, on personnel-wise?
Well, we're not the only team feeling like this either. There's, as I said, when you have the teams that are getting better at a higher rate than teams are dropping back, there's other managers having these same feelings and talks with their teams that we're supposed to be on very good teams on paper. Some of the top teams have had 3 or 4 game losing streaks. We're leading the pack at 5. So there are trades to be made, but that's never been our first option, was to react with a trade early. I'd rather hit rock bottom with the group and then build up with it than try and send a message that by moving a player that was the guy that was the issue, when it's really not one person's issue. If it's one person's issue, it's mine. But other than that, the rest of these guys are in it together, and so I think there are ways to make changes if necessary, but that's not what I'm hoping to have to do.
Doug, I don't get this sense listening to you here today as the same, but when we had this conversation a few years ago, when you made the reference of players being individual contractors, do you see similar parallels, or is this something completely different?
To me, this is completely different. This is that felt like that there was this just feels like it's a organizational malaise that we're in, or an organizational thing that I'm responsible to find a way out of. I don't think it's just 1 or 2 players. I would say the difference from anything I've spelled in the past is I really believe there's guys doing more than necessary to try and get out of it, not less than needed to try and get out of it, if that makes any sense. But playing hard dumb is just playing dumb. They always just saying, he's a fast skater, but he's always in the wrong spot. So you're just the fastest guy to the wrong spot. Right now we need to up our competitive level. We need to up our hockey sense and our understanding that the opposition is going to, the game of hockey obviously now is ebbs and flows. And when you get the momentum, you want to push for as long as you can. And when you don't have it, you want to get it back as quick as you can. And right now, we don't keep it long enough, and we don't get it back nearly quick enough.
I realize, you don't want to get ahead of yourself today, but you said a minute ago, if we got to a certain point, we'd probably require some change. What would you have to see? How long would you have to watch what's going on right now before you felt like that was necessary?
Yeah, I don't think that there's a number that gets it. I think it's a feeling. I think it's a feeling that you have. It's not an analytically driven decision. It's things you see with your eyes. If you don't see the compete level, if you see, you guys have been around long enough. You you followed a team that's been relatively stable for a lot of years, but you've seen us play a lot of unstable teams. And so you guys know what unstable teams look like. And when we become unstable long enough, I think everyone's going to know.
I mean, it's kind of amazing when you take 1 or 2 days out of the lineup, how quickly things can change. Any update on Brandon's side, when you expect to get him?
He had a hot chocolate skate today, so it's not coming anytime. I don't think it's a long term, but if you're not out there in a practice like today, that means you're a ways away.
What's a hot chocolate shake?
Skate. It just lounging around like you're with your girlfriend holding hands.
All right.
What sense do you get that, like last night, Craig looked pretty exhausted talking to us and frustrated, obviously. Well, what's your sense of where he's at right now?
Well, I think that's why I thought it would be good to give him a day away. He's proud. He's a coach. He sees what's going on, and any good coach, any leader puts that blame on themselves. And what I wanted to assure to Craig is that he has to be part of the solution. He's not removed from this, but he's not the reason that we're here. But he is the reason we're going to get out of it, and I got a ton of faith in him. But yeah, if losing doesn't weigh on you, you're in hockey just for a paycheck, and the paychecks are a great benefit, but it's the competition that drives you. And I know the competition drives Craig, and I know it drives our players. And if it doesn't, then we have the wrong players. And again, that gets back to one guy, me.
Your fans are incredibly patient. When you hear them boo, which is really rare, does that reinforce to you that something's not right?
I hear him boo more than you think. But yeah, they're disappointed. They should be disappointed. They're not used to it. I don't want to get them used to this. This isn't something that, as I said, this isn't a taste that we want to acquire acceptability with. So I understand why they're angry, but they're certainly. We were internally booing a lot earlier than they were externally yesterday.
Army, you said a couple minutes ago that you like the roster in September. You want to be careful not to over-evaluate it 8 games in. But everybody thought the forwards are going to be deep. The defense looked good, but the goaltending might be the question. It's kind of been the exact opposite. Just what do you think about the roster as it's constructed and the way you brought it into this year?
Well, it's one of two things. This is a black or white. It's either underperforming or it's a poor roster, and that's on me again. So I'm hoping it's underperforming, and if it is, then we can work together and get out of it. If it's not underperforming, this is just the ability that they have, then we're going to get to that part I don't want to get to, was to seeing, can we place certain players in different groups and try and gain assets to go into a rebuild. And I'm sorry, whatever. You use the word after but so I think our goaltending's been good. I think we've exposed them in the last few games. It's been. I don't like if we just want to go games by game. Like I thought we played a really good game against Edmonton. You're going to lose those games. Yeah, of course you're angry when you lose, but it's a 1-1 game. They get a break, goes in the net. We don't capitalize or we don't score 6 on 5. But we did that to them 4 days before or 5 days before, whatever it was, and they rebounded. But what we did was take it into Nashville, and I don't buy into being tired. Everybody's tired in the NHL. But, third periods or then Winnipeg, you're right in the game in the third period. And that's the part that is concerning to me is the chance total in the third periods when the games are on the line, when we're not finding a way to put a finger in the dike when the other team grabs control and grab it back. And that's something I'm sure the players want to rectify as quick as possible too.
How do you feel about the shot selection? I mean, it seems like you're missing a lot of shots, maybe sometimes being a little too cute with a puck. What are you seeing?
Well, that's probably a little bit of, I don't want to say nerves, but when things aren't going good, you overthink, and instead of reacting, you think, and then this isn't a thinking man's league. Like when you get the puck in a good area, it's got to go in the net. And we can call puck luck. You create your own puck luck. We've had opportunities where the puck doesn't go in, but that's what I think we talked about earlier. It's the body language. When it doesn't go in, and you shrug your shoulders, or you have a slow change because you can't believe that happened, to you, the other team feeds off of that, and I want to say this, like when you play teams that are like that are rebuilding or retooling or whatever, they remember how you treated them when they were going down, and they keep a memory. And now, like last night, they took a little bit of joy in rubbing our nose in because we had rubbed their nose in it for a number of years too, and we have to not let that to be acceptable.
I mean, when you're watching in your office up here practice, are you seeing the same kinds of things we're seeing in games from your perspective?
Well, I thought today one of the things I wanted to really concentrate on was how many times we missed the net in practice, and that wasn't high today. And I think that's something that we need to. It does flow over to practice. It's when you have an odd man rush, like in my belief is if you're going to pass the puck from the top of the circles down, it better be in the net, or better end up in the net, or like on a 3-on-2 or 2-on-1, or you should have shot it, And when you're in those areas, you got to hit the net. You got to create. If the puck doesn't go in, you have to create the opportunity for someone else to score, and you can't score when the puck's banging off the glass and going out the zone. So I think we have to continue to put pucks onto the net, take what's given to us, and then go to those, areas where you score. And that's as the day is long, hockey's been the same way. If you win the front of your net and the front of their net, you're going to win lots of hockey games. And if you lose both of those, which we are now, you're not going to win very much.